Yeah, it is started. Okay, now let's I have given some programs. So I'm copy pasting this program to some notepad, and yeah, you people should tell what is the output of this program. So whether it will compile or not. If it is not compiling, what is the reason? Guys, what is the first one? I've created class X. It has one variable. Class Y. It has one method. Class Z. It has one variable. It is extending of extend X and Y. So will it compile or not? Will it compile or not, guys? So is Java will extend multiple classes at a time? A class can extend multiple classes or not? Yes. So extending multiple classes means it is of in a it should support multiple inheritance. So is Java will support multiple inheritance? No, right? Yes. So the reason is it will give compilation error. It will give compilation error. Let me take off one. Do you have already? It is not there. Let me take off class. Mm, Of anything class X. Okay. Shift Y. So it is giving of error here. So it is expecting of two classes. It is extending class Z, class X, and class Y is there. Class Z is extending two classes. Okay, this is not supported by Java, right or not? See, multiple inheritance is not supported by Java. Class C is trying to extend class A and class B both. That is not possible. Okay. Now next question is it clear why it is giving error? Right, guys, clear, right? Now I'm giving one more program. I'm giving of one more program. Is of program one, right? Practice program one. Yeah. So practice program one. Let's remove it. It will give error. Yeah. So where we are now, program one. Yeah. So what is the output of this program? Class P is there. It has one variable. Class Q is there. Class Q is extending class P. It is a class Q is also having same variable. Okay. And I am writing created a class Q object and it is assigned to P. Now what is the output of this program? What is the output of this program? So now I have created for which class object? Q class object is created. To which one I am assigning that one? To P class reference variable I am assigning Q class object. Reason is it is a super class. It is a subclass. Okay. Super class can store any of its subclass reference. So the subclass object I have created Q class object that I am assigning to superclass reference variable. So through this superclass reference variable, so what are all things that we can call? Only what is the output that we'll get now? A is of type which class object? A is of type what type? A is, what is the A? Sorry, what is the output? 20. Why 20 it will come? Reason? So what is the type of A here? 1 second, guys. So, what is the type of A here? What is A type? Property. No, no. A is a property of type. What type? No, no, no. It is of type P. P type, right? A is a variable of type P, right? P is a class of class P, right? So now the subclass object I am storing in the superclass reference. Q is a subclass, right? P is superclass, right? So subclass object I am storing in superclass reference. Through this superclass reference, we can call only superclass methods and properties, but not subclass related properties and methods. So we'll get off which one? Only the class P related value. Class P related I value. Why it is coming? Is it clear? The reason is we created Q class, okay, object. So if you are here, if you are giving instead of Q, if you are giving here, then Q class variable will display, right? Output will come as Q class. 20 will come. If this object is assigned to P class reference variable, if this object is assigned to superclass or P class reference variable, if you are assigning superclass reference, then through this reference, we can call only superclass related methods and variables only. Okay? Clear or not this part? Yeah. Now, the next one. So, next question is how program 2. Okay, program 2. So what I have done, first I have created a class. Okay, inside a class I have created one non-static block. What is this? Static is not there, only open bracket and close bracket. In between I have written one statement, so we can say it is a non-static block. Okay, if it is I am keeping as static means, then it is a static initialization block. Okay, so I have not there, static is not, keyword is not there, right? So we can say it is a non-static block, okay, or instance initialization block. Okay, A class contain one non-static block or instance initialization block, and B class is also having one non-static block, and that is extending of A class. Okay, again C class is also having one non-static block, and C class is extending of B class. Okay, now, and I created one main method or one class which contains of main method. I am creating of which class object I am creating? C class object I am creating, child class, last child class object I am creating. So when I am creating last class object, what all things will execute? So before going to execute of the, if constructor is not there means, who will going to add the constructor? Default constructor. Compiler will add default constructor if it is not there in the class. Okay, compiler will add default constructor if it is not there in the class as a first statement, as a first statement in the constructor, default constructor. Super is the keyword. As a first statement in the constructor, super is the default. If you don't have, if you are not adding this code, compiler will add internally. Okay, even this class also, do you have constructor in the B class? Do we have constructor, guys? So that means compiler will add one constructor in the B class also. Okay, the compiler will add only default constructor, guys. Okay, it will not add any parameterized constructor. Only default constructor only will add by the compiler. Okay, now go to, do you have default constructor in A class? No, right? So even here also compiler will add a default constructor. Okay, now whenever you are creating object of C class, okay, internally, so which first it will call of which constructor? C class constructor. We are creating of C class object, right? So internally it will call of which constructor again? The default constructor internally calling of which constructor? Super means what is the meaning of soup? What is the meaning of super means it will call its immediate super class. Immediate, what is the super class of C class? No, no, not A and B. Immediate super class. Only immediate super class is B only. Okay? It will call of super class constructor. So what is the super class of B class constructor? B class again? A. Internal it will call of again A class constructor. What is the super class of A class? What is the super class of A class again? Object class. If there is no class for the, if there is no class is extending by this class means then internally it will extend of object class. Internally it will extend of object class. This will be add by, if our class is not extending any class, then only the compiler will add extends object. Okay. Now what is the super class of A class now? Object class, right? So yes, it will execute of object class constructor. It will execute of object class constructor. Once object class is constructor is completed, then it will come to A class constructor. A class constructor will finish its execution. From where we are calling A class constructor? From B class constructor we are calling. Then come again, it will come to B class constructor while coming to B class constructor back. So in the A class, if any static blocks is there, it will execute it. If any non-static blocks is there, it will execute that. And then it will come to constructor. Okay. So if any non-static blocks is there, first it will finish that. Okay. And then it will finish its constructor execution, and then it will come to B class constructor. In the B class constructor, if there any non-static blocks is there, then it will finish its execution. And then from where we are calling B class constructor? From C class constructor. So then it will come to C class constructor. Why before completion of constructor execution, it will finish off non-static block and static blocks. Everything it will, first it will give priority static blocks, and then it will give to non-static blocks. Okay. Now the first two, which one is executed? A class constructor. Okay, along with non-static block. B class constructor along with non-static block. C class constructor with non-static block. So from this you should understood first A class, B class, C class. Okay, is it clear why it is coming A class, B class, C class? Clear or not, guys? Okay. Now next question. Okay, program 3. So this class, let's say class M, class M. So why I'm writing some class, right? I'm writing of or else program. Second, let me change the name of the program. Yeah. Now, why this class is giving error, guys? What is the reason? Any idea? Why this class is giving error? Compile time error is giving. The reason? Yes, exactly. Always the super must be the first statement only. Okay. Always super or this must be first statement. Okay. Super or and both we can't use, guys, again. So both super and this we can't use in at the same time. Okay. Both we can't use in the same time. Again it is a problem. Only at a time, either this or either this or super only, either this or super, because this means again it is the same constructor. Okay, there is no point of that. Let me int I. Okay, give some 10. Okay, now here not required. See? So this is the default constructor. From the default constructor, I am calling parameterized constructor. Okay. To call within the other constructor, we will use of this keyword. Okay. If you are keeping super means here, super means it will call of super class constructor. What is the super class of program 3? Practice program 3? Yes, exactly. Super. So the super class of program, the practice program 3 is object class. Okay. So object class is super class for all classes, guys. Any class. So the default you can say super class for all the classes in Java is object class. Okay. 1 second, someone is in the lobby. Yeah. Now, so compulse are always either super or this must be the first statement in the constructors if you are writing. Okay. If you are not writing, no issue. Okay. Doesn't matter. If you are writing something in between, we can't write that one. Okay. Next program again. If anything is there, we'll see. Yeah. There's one more program. Let's. Okay. Program 3. Yeah. Program 3. So what is there in this, guys? Class D. What is there in the class D? One variable. Correct or not? One variable, yes. Is of type which type? Yes, is of type string type. Yes, yes is of type string type. Okay. I have one string variable in the class D with the message of class D. Okay. And one more class E extending of class D. Again here also string is equal to class E, same variable again. Okay. Same variable again. Next class F, it is extending of class E. Okay. Like that, three classes I have added, and all classes having some non-static blocks, guys. See, all classes having some non-static blocks, right? So class E and class F having some non-static blocks. Inside this non-static block, I am calling super dot yes. Super dot yes means what is the value of this one? Super dot s means it will go to super class. Sorry. So, yes, exactly. Super means wherever you are writing that statement, right? So the statement is in which class? Class E. What is the super class of class E? D. So it will go to the super class, and then is there any variable with yes? If it is there, then it will print that value here. Okay, like that. Come. So what I'm doing first, I have created of class F object I have created. So internally it is calling of F class constructor, default constructor. If it is not there, okay, internally it will call off super. Internally it will call off super. So it will call off its super class E. E default constructor. We don't have any constructor here. Then again internally it contains of super keyword in that constructor. So internally it will call off D class, right? So it will finish off its execution of D class, and then it will come to E class. It will come to E class. So while executing of E class constructor, while executing of e-class constructor, okay, it will execute of current class non-static blocks also. Current class non-static blocks. So this statement is executing. So what is the super dot value is? The value is class D. It will print first. Okay. Then once class D will print first, right? That is the first statement. Now, next from where we are calling this E default constructor? From F class we are calling. Okay, default it might be here, right? If we are not adding the default constructor, the compiler will add it. Okay. While executing of default constructor of F class, so internally it will execute of non-static block also. What is the value of super.s in the F class? What it will print? What is the super class of F class? E class. What is the value of super.s now? Super.s means what is the value? Yes, exactly. The superclass of F is E. E class having any variable S. Yes, it is there. It is of value is class E. Right? So first class D will print, next class E, first class D will print, next class E will print. After that, after object creation, system dot out dot println of F dot S. Okay. Do you have S in the F class? We have yes variable in the F class? Yes, it is there. Then last it this line will print class F. Clear the execution how it is? Now let's see class D first, class E next, class F. If I am commenting this, then what is the output? I am commenting last point. What is the output? Only F class variable will not print. Right or not? Only F yes class D and E will come. So in this one, F class object through F class object I am calling variable S in the F. Okay. Only that value will not print. Rest of other things is at the time of construct execution, it is completing. Okay. Next. Which different data types? Come again, please. Here, this one. Yes. Yes, obviously. We can. If you want, int A equal to 100. We can. You mean yes? No, no, no issue. Whichever you are using, yes, we can write of any number of anything that we can write it. If float anything, boolean is what it value by default value is. Let's say boolean. No, no, no. We can write boolean also. Boolean b equal to true or false. We need to use right, correct or not? So if you want to use boolean super dot, let's we f class right. F class b system dot out dot println of F class contains Boolean variable, right? System dot out dot println F dot B. What is the value of B? True. The true value will print. So all of them at the time of constructor creation, we have other things, right? Class D, okay? Uh, and one why two times it is printing class D, guys? The reason is internal it contains one default constructor that will call of superclass constructor. Superclass constructor having it is so it is calling again superclass D class constructor. Okay, that time what at the time of execution of superclass constructor D, so there is no print statement. Then it will come to E class constructor. E class constructor is having what? There is one super dot. Yes. Do we have any super variable in E class? The superclass of E class is D, right? D class contains so S variable. Then it will print. Fine. Okay. And in the F class also, in F class also, while executing of the constructor, it is calling its immediate super dot S. So what is the superclass of F? E. So do we have S variable in E class? Do we have S variable in E class? If it is not there, yes. If it is not there, then it will go to its superclass. What is the superclass of E class? D. Then again, yes, from D class, if it is there, it will print that value again. That is the reason it is printing of two times. I think this might be, let me repeat if not clear. So if subclass is not there the S variable, then it will go to its superclass. What is the superclass of F class? E class. E class is doesn't have yes variable to print that. Okay, so then what it will do, then again it will check what is the superclass of E class. Again it is a D class. Is D class contains yes variable or not? If it is there, directly it will print that value. Okay, it will check the superclass like that. It will check and then it will go until wherever it is finding. At the end also it is not identified, then it will throw error. If I am commenting this, it will give error. See, the S variable is not identified in anywhere. At least it should be identified in the entire flow. Class D in the parent class or in the subclass or in subclass. Somewhere it should be there. Then only it can print wherever it is there. Until that, it will find its superclasses. Okay, it's clear or not? Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. In class you want to use? In class you can use of this. Is that? Okay. Use it. No, no, no. Come again the question. So you want to print a variable in the E class or not? So in the E class, what I'm doing, if you want to represent the current class, then this will use. Okay, we can use if any current class variables if you want to refer in the current class itself without creating object, then we can use of this keyword. If you want to call off any of superclass variables or methods, let's say void m1 method. Okay, void m1 method void m1 method I'm created. So if I want to call m1 method in the subclass without creating object, then directly I can call of system.out.println of super dot m1. If I'm calling super.mn, then it will call of superclass. Then it will call of superclass method. Then it will call of superclass. It is not going to return anything, right? That is the reason it is giving error. No issue. We can call of superclass method. So at the time of calling this internally, so this time it will call of superclass method also. Now let's print some message. So m1 method of B class. Okay. Now, internally, whenever this block is executing, first it will print the A value of E class and then it will call of superclass method A1. Now, let's see and print it. It's calling of superclass method also. What is your doubt again? Yeah, class E is there. Okay. This is where I need to write. Yeah. Where I need, where, okay. System dot out. Okay. Super. Yes, we can. Yes, super dot. Yes, we can use it. No, no, no. This is not constructor, right? This is a non-static block. Yes, we can. Yeah, right. Again, in the constructor, that is not possible. I told you. Constructor, it first statement must be either this or super only. Okay. Yes, this is the non-static block. Yes, yes. This is non-static block. It is not constructor. Okay, we can use it. Now next. Now let's go and yes, please. Yeah. So where? So the come again. Where you want to write? Okay. Okay. You want integer value here? Okay, you can use it directly. This is a non-static variable. Okay, directly you can print it either this dot a or a, both are same, no issue. can use it. You want to print this value, right? Yes, we can. See, it is printing of 100. After calling of M1 method of superclass, I'm printing of A value again. This is that. No limitation here. We can inherit anything, methods and variables. We can inherit to any subclasses. So whatever the class that the variable s and d is, s and m1 is there, right? These will be inherit to e class. Okay. Again, e class having one s variable, one m1 method, one a variable. Three is there. Next, whenever you are extending of e class in the f, class f is extending e class, right? Now all a variable, okay, and s variable and f1 method will all will come into f class. All will come to f class. Clear? Yes, any number of classes we can extend it. So whichever the superclass all classes having, all will come to the subclass. Okay. Now next question. Let's go and search it. Yeah. Now this is of plus x. So this class is giving some compilation error, right? This class is giving some compilation error. Why it is giving compilation error? The reason? Expected, not else. I'll explain it. So, okay, let me without waste time, let me finish it. So, in subclass where no, it is a constructor. We can't use semicolon, right? Yes, the reason is causing parameterized constructor. So in the superclass class X does not having any default constructor. If you are added parameterized constructor, this is parameterized constructor or not? The method name is exactly same as this one. Okay, and one variable. This is of parameterized constructor in class X. Okay, and class Y is extending class X. So internally class Y we are added default constructor. Default constructor we are added. So whenever it is internally calling, it will call its default constructor of X class only. Okay. If we are added parameterized constructor, then the compiler will not add default constructor. It is compulsory the developer we need to write default constructor explicitly. Default constructor explicitly. Otherwise it will not add it. Statement, okay, if this statement is this constructor is not there means then compiler internally will add this statement default constructor. Okay, if the programmer, if we are added as a programmer, if we are added parameterized constructor, okay, then compiler will not add default constructor. Okay, from the subclass internally it will call default constructor only. So if the statement is not there means what is the meaning of that? What is the first statement? It is of super. Super. No. First statement is super if nothing is there. So here it is a default one, right? Default constructor. So even though if you are adding constructor, default constructor, as a first statement always, it will be the super. Okay, to call its superclass constructor. So if I'm calling this one, immediately it will call it's a superclass constructor only, but not parameterized constructor. To call this, to call parameterized constructor, we need to pass some default of some 10. Then only it will call a superclass parameterized constructor. To write this statement, it is a explicitly the developer has to call this super of 10. Then only it will execute that. Okay. If I am not, if I am removing this line, if I am removing this line, by default, what is the statement? Super statement. So it will call it super class default constructor. Superclass does not having default constructor because it has already a parameterized constructor. Okay, to call that parameterized constructor, compulsory we need of either super of the single parameterized value, or you can pass off add parameter or add default constructor in super class. Any one is mandatory, either adding default constructor in the super class or call parameterized constructor from call parameterized constructor from calling parameterized constructor from subclass default constructor. 1 second, guys. Hello. Hello, guys. Just 1 minute, guys. Someone mute. Yeah. Now, so is it clear, guys, this part? So why do we need super of some variable name here, some value? Is it clear, guys? Why do we need? So without this, it is giving error. What is the reason that you is it clear? Without this line, it is giving off error. So I'm mute or not? Unmuted, right? Yeah. Guys, one thing just to think about here. If nothing is there, then the meaning of that compiler will add automatically at the time of compilation. Simply the default constructor. Okay, default constructor, this code will add by compiler. if we are not adding this one. Okay, if the default constructor is not there, then only compiler will add this one. Okay, let's say if the developer we are writing some code int a, just assume we are writing some code like this. Okay, then what is the compiler will not add default constructor. The compiler will not add default constructor internally. Okay, so whenever we are creating object of y class, whenever we are creating object of y class, let's say main y small y equal to new y. So internally it is calling of default constructor. This one is calling internally from this it is calling of it's a default constructor of super class. Okay, if we are not adding this one, how it will call that? Okay, if we are not adding default constructor, the constructor explicitly, okay, then compiler cannot add this code if we are adding the parameterized constructor in the class. Okay, simple. So if any constructor with a parameterized constructor is there in the class, then default constructor will not be added by the compiler. That explicit parameterized constructor we need to explicitly call from subclass constructors. Okay, that's what the meaning. Okay, maybe is it clear now by this time, guys? Okay. Then next, this already we have discussed, right? This one is already we have discussed. Class A constructor, the super is in the second statement. Compulsory it should be the first statement only. That is the reason it is giving error. The reason is that. The next topic. Next topic is polymorphism. What is polymorphism? So polymorphism is one of the concept of oops concept. Okay. So what is mean by poly? What is mean by morphism? So poly means many. Poly means many. Morphism means functionalities or forms. So poly means many, morphism means functionalities. Writing single function, writing single function in many ways. Okay, writing single function in many ways. We will call it as a polymorphism. Okay, so there are two types of polymorphisms are there. Writing single function in many ways means, let's say, we'll take off one example class. Okay, class add class addition or any class you can take it. Okay, so if you want to add off, if you want to add two numbers, we'll write one method. Okay, void add off int a comma int b. Okay, now SOP of a plus b. So if you want to add up three numbers, so what we need to do, guys? I want to add. So in this method, what is there? Two variables. I want to add up two numbers. Okay. I want to add up two numbers. So I have added one method to add up two numbers. Okay. If I want to add up, my requirement is three numbers. I want to add it. Then what to do, guys? To add up three numbers, what to do? No. So then in this case, two parameters will fail, right? Number three means then what about the second parameter? Two parameters. If I'm passing only two parameters, then it will fail, right? So if I want, my requirement is I want only two parameters first. Okay. Now if you want to only two parameters, then add of two parameters method. Okay. Into num one comma into num two. Okay. Now open SOP of num1 plus num2. Okay. So if I'm passing to the method two parameters 10 and 20, then internally it will check is there any add method with is there any add method with let's say main method instead of that. Let me write one class. Poly class addition. Okay. Main method without main method. So first what I'm doing, control X, system.syso. If I'm passing to the add method two parameters 10 and 20, then this method will call. It will compiler will check is there any method in the class which contains two parameter method. Yes, if it is there, then it will call. Okay. Now let's say main method right of addition class. Addition a equal to new addition of default constructor. Okay. A dot 10 comma 20. If I am passing a of add method, add of 10 comma 20. If I am passing, so it will check in the addition class. So is there any method add method with two parameters? Okay, it is there add method with two parameters. Okay, then that will execute. Let's write it. It is displaying of 30. So if I want, if I'm passing one more parameter, do we have any method? So in the addition class, which contains of add method with three parameters, do you have method, guys? No, right? Then in that case, what we need to do? We need to write one more method with void add of int a comma better to avoid confusion int number 2 number 1 comma into number 3. Okay, so then in that case system.out.println of number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3. So if I am passing three parameters, then which method it will call? If I am passing three parameters, which method will call? The first method or second method? This method or this method? Why it is calling second method? Reason? It has given how many values are given here? How many parameters here? Three parameters. So in the method also having three parameters. So it will search for the method which contains three parameters. If I'm adding one more 40, then will it which method will execute? There is no method which contains four parameters. Correct or not? There is no method in this addition class which contains of method name is add. There is no method with four parameters. So what we need to do? We need to add of method with four parameters. Right or not? So we need to add of method with four parameters. Right? Like that. So writing method name is same. Right or not? Method name is here also add, here also add, here also add. Right? So, but what is the difference? Only the difference is in parameters or not? Type number of parameters only the difference, right? Correct? What is the difference for yeah? So now this is what is the method name here? First one method name is what is the function name, guys? Add. So how many parameters? Two parameters. So what the method name here? Add. The method parameters are three. Here also method is same, but the parameters are different. Four parameters. So here the now you will come to know the definition. Okay. Now see the definition. The polymorphisms are two types. One is static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. Okay. I'm explaining of static polymorphism or compile time polymorphism or method overloading. Okay, now read this point. When a class has when a class has more than one method, more than one method with the same name, right or not? So in this addition class, method name is same, but it is more than once, right? A class can have more than one method with the same name, okay? But the number of but different parameters, but different parameters. Then we will call those methods are overloaded methods. Then we will call these methods are overloaded methods. Okay, now overloaded methods will have same name. Overloaded methods will have method name must be same, but the difference is number of parameters or type of parameters. Let's say if I want to add of void, add of float a comma float b. Okay, system.out.println of a plus b. Now, when I'm calling a dot add of 10.5 f comma 0.56 f, then which method will call? This one will call by which method? So I have written line number 24 will call which a plus b of which method? Which take of float arguments. Float arguments. Here the type of parameters, which parameters we are passing? Float parameter, float values, right? So then in this class, is there any method name? Add method name which contains of float type of two variables. Float of two variables. Then it will search for that method and it will execute that method. Okay. Now the difference is, now you should understood. Now overloading over method name is same, but the type of parameters or number of parameters in the method is different. Then we will call that as a method overloading. Okay, when a class has when a class has more than one method, when a class has more than one method with same name, more than one method with same name, but the number of parameters or type of parameters are different, then we'll call that as a method overloading. Okay, is it clear? The definition, what is the overloading means? Overloading means method is same, but the type of parameters and number of parameters, type of parameters, here we have already two parameters, right? So already we have two parameters method with different types. Here it is int type, here it is float type, right? If I am passing a dot add of a dot add of 50 comma 50 comma 100. So in this case, which method will call, guys? Both are two parameters. In the last line number 25, which call of first method. The reason is why it is calling first method. Reason? Yeah, here yes, even here also two inputs, right? Here are two parameters. But why it is calling of the first method only? The reason is it is of type integers. Type is integers. That's what the reason. So method name is same, but the two parameters. So based on the values, it will decide which method I should call. If it is a float means it will call this method. If it is integer means it will call off the first method. Okay. Now read that again. If you are reading once again, then you will get more clarity. In a class having more than one method with the same name is same, but the different parameters, that those different parameters are, it may be the number of parameters or it may be the type of parameters. Then we'll call those methods are overloaded methods. Then we'll call those methods are overloaded methods, and those different parameters are different type of arguments or different number of arguments. It may be anything. It may be of anything. Okay, in this method is of two parameters, this method is having three parameters, this method is of four parameters. Okay, Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, obviously. Yes, obviously we can. Then, in this case, by default, it can take as float. By default, for passing float value, then it will treat as float value. If both are whichever, yes, then it will treat as dot zero. Then it treat as dot zero. That's it. See, it will internally it will treat as dot zero. Okay, clear? If you're not adding means, yeah, clear this one. What is method overloading? Okay, so I have given example of for multiplication. Here I have given of addition. Okay, then you can refer that, guys. Okay, now we'll go to overriding. Overriding. So overloading means method name is same, but the different is type of parameters or number of parameters in the method. Okay. Now overriding means already superclass has some method. Okay. Let's say I'll write one more class as sub. Okay. Extents of extents of addition class in the addition class in the subclass. So now all addition class methods will be inherited to subclass or not, right, guys? I'm extending i'm extending subclass is extending addition class, so all the methods in the addition class will be inherited to subclass, right? Now, so whatever the method, one of the method, just assume float method is not implemented as per my requirement. Not implemented as per my requirement. So just assume in this case just simply added single line a plus b. So but this is not suitable for me. So I want to changing the implementation of that method. I am changing the implementation of the add method of float a comma float float b. So that implementation is not correct for me. So what I'm doing, begin. Okay. Next, system.out.println of end. Okay. And one more thing. So in between, I'm writing off. In between, I'm writing off. So in the first superclass statement, in the superclass, how many lines is there? The add method of float and float. In the superclass, how many lines of code? The variables is two, but how many lines of implementation? In the one line. So that is not suitable for my requirement. So my requirement is I want starting log is there, ending log is required for me. Okay. Then in that case, I am changing the implementation of. I'm changing the implementation of that add method in the subclass. Implementation of add method in the subclass I'm changing. So then we will call this as whatever the method that is already there in the superclass. That functionality I'm changing in the subclass, the implementation. Then I will call that as a overriding. Overriding. Already that implementation is there. That I am modifying in the subclass. Then I will call that as a method overriding. Okay. Now let's go to the document and read it. So when a class extends its superclass, here the subclass is sub and a superclass is addition. Okay, all or some of the members of superclass are inherited to subclass. Fine. Okay, when a inherited superclass method is modified in the subclass, okay, this method is inheriting to subclass. Okay, this method I am this method I am modifying according to my requirement. This sub method, sorry, add method implementation I am modifying according to the my requirement as per the subclass. So that means that Here one type of implementation is there. Here one type of implementation is there. This will be used by addition class. Okay. This will be used by subclass. Okay. Then we'll call that as a method overriding. Okay. So modified in the subclass. Then we will call the method as a overridden method. Then add method with float variable. Float variable A and float variable B. This method will call it as a overridden method. Overridden method. Okay. Through method overriding, we can modify superclass method according to the requirement of subclass. Is it clear, guys? This one? Already the method is there in the superclass, but that implementation what we did in the superclass is not correct for my requirement. So that I will change that. But method name and variable names must be same. Method name and this must be same. Okay. Void add of float and float only must and should take. Otherwise, if I am changing that, I am changing to here as some double. Okay. If I'm hearing as a double, then it is a overloaded method again. There is no method in the superclass and subclass with add of float and double is not there. It is a different combination, right? Then I can say it is a overloaded method. If both are same means, then only I can say superclass method signature and subclass method signature must be same while overriding. Okay. That's what this point. Next. There are some scenarios is there. Okay. While overriding any method, while overriding any method, superclass this method is there and the same method I'm writing in the subclass. So we need to follow some rules. We need to follow some rules while overriding a method. Now let's see what are those rules. Let's read the name of the method. The name of the method must be same as of superclass method. Okay. Superclass and subclass must be same method name. Okay. Superclass and subclass method must be same. Is it method name is same or not? Void of add of float a comma float b. Void of add of float a comma float b. This method name must be same. Okay. That is the first point. Okay. If any one point is deviation is there, then it is not called a overriding. Okay. Now, return type of overridden method. Return type of overridden method must be compatible with overridden. Okay. So what is there in the return type of this method? Return type of this method is void. Return type of this method is void. So that means nothing is returning. Even return type also must be same. Let's say here it is float. Here it is float. Here also must and should be. Here also must and should be float only. Here also let's a plus b. Okay. Let's here also compulsory you should use float and end with return a plus b. Okay. Let's say or it may be covariant. It may be covariant means so superclass having some type. Okay. Subclass in the subclass while overriding either same type or any of its subclass. Any of its subclass also. Let's say for example if I'm giving here as number, there is a class called number. There is one class is there, predefined class, number class is there. Okay. Now, any of its subclass also can use it. Any of its subclass also. Now, if I'm using float, then it is no issue. Reason is float class is extended by float class is extending which class? Number class. Yes, if superclass is having number, then its subclass can have any of its subclass reference return type, either float or number, anything that we can use it. Okay, the return type, but it must be covariant, either same or any of its subclass. The float is subclass of number class or not? Float is subclass of number class, because number is here extending, right? So that is the reason it is not giving any error in the subclass. That is the second point. See, return type of overridden method must be compatible with the method being overridden. Let's see, that is, if method has a primitive type, method has primitive type. Let's say here it is float. Okay, here also must be float. Small f guys, capital F means it is a class again. Okay, capital F means it is a class. Small f, small float, float. Must and should use float. Here it is int. Then must and should here also it must be int. Okay, here also must and should be int. Okay, here also must and should be int. Both are having integer type, float type, right? There is some type conversion. Okay, that is not an issue. Okay, it must be original primitive type only. If the method has a derived type means we'll call it as a classes. We'll call it as a classes as a derived type. Then in that case, same class or any of its subclass. Now let's say derived type is it is of just assume number. Number is a derived class. Okay. Now in that case, any of the class integer in integer is also one class is there. Capital integer, yeah. Capital I. There is one class. The superclass of integer class is also a number class. Superclass of integer class is also a number class. That is the reason it is not giving off any error while overriding. Either same or covariant. Okay. Next, third point. You must not reduce the visibility of a method while overriding. You must not reduce. Reduce the visibility means, let's say here public is there. Here public is there means compulsory. Here also we need to use public. Okay. If it is public is there in the method, then here also in the subclass also it must and should be public. Okay. Let's say if it is a protected. Okay, if it is protected, then so the severity, the vision will be okay. It first will be lowest priority is private. Increasing the visibility means first is public means we can access anywhere. Okay, public means we can access anywhere. Protected means protected. It's the second visibility, second highest visibility. Next default. Okay. Next private. Private means only within the class. Protected means it is of within the same package with through subclass or in other package through subclass also we can access. If it is a protected member means okay. If here protected means compulsory in the subclass either protected okay or protected or public we need to use either protected in the subclass or public we need to use. Let's say if here it is default, here it is default, then I can use here as either public or protected or default. Three I can use it. But here if you are using public means compulsory in the subclass also it must be public. Here it is default means compulsory, below must be also below also default. Default means here we can use of nothing is there means default. In the subclass we can use of either same default or protected or public, anything is fine. Okay. That's what always the visibility should be increase only. There is no decrement. Okay. Let's say here it is protected. It is protected. Here it is just assume public. Here it is public. Then it is not accessible. Here public is more access than protected. This will not access. This means we are reducing the visibility. This is not possible, but reverse is possible. Okay, that's what I explained till now. You public. Next, you must not change the parameter list of methods while overriding. Okay, parameter list also here it is float and float. Here also you must and should use float and float only. The variable names it can be anything. See here it can be of D, but the type is must be same. This method type and this method parameters type must be same only. Okay, otherwise it will give off error. It is not correct. Okay, just changing variable names. That's it. Last one. You cannot increase the scope of exceptions. We cannot increase the scope of exceptions while overriding. Let's say this method is of throwing some arithmetic exception. There is just assume some rows of arithmetic exception. Okay, in the subclass while overriding it. So it must be either same class or any of its subclass. Any of its same class or any of its subclass we can use it. But the superclass of this one we should not use. Let's say exception is superclass for all classes. This is not possible. Okay, but here exception and here arithmetic exception is possible again. Here exception that so the exception under that arithmetic exception is a subclass of exception. So this is possible, but reverse is not possible. So let's see if you want. It is of this class is extending by exception. So there is somewhere the exception class is of its superclass is extending exception class. So from this you should understood. So if the superclass method is showing throwing some exception means the subclass method also throw same exception or any of its subclass exceptions, but not you should not throw its superclass exceptions in the subclass. Let's say if I am adding arithmetic exception in the superclass and if I am throwing in the subclass as a exception, this is not the exception is not the superclass of exception is not the subclass of arithmetic exception, right? That is the reason it is increasing the so this can be handled by any exception, but this method is exception. This method can handle only arithmetic exception only. Okay, so compared to this the visibility is more for this. So in while overriding we should not increase the scope of the exception. Okay, that is the reason we need to use either same exception or any of its subclass exception only. That's what the in this example I have seen. All examples also I have seen. See, arithmetic exception and subclass also either same exception or any of its subclass exceptions. Okay, that's what the polymorphism, guys. Please practice it and then come tomorrow. We'll revise it if any doubt is there. The polymorphism. Is it okay, guys? Yeah. But please practice and come tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll see some more examples. Okay, some exercise. Yeah. Thank you, guys. We'll meet tomorrow again.